So today we're going to talk about my favorite canning tools and how to use them to preserve high acidic and low acidic items. I have other things other than the hot water bath canner and the pressure canner, so stay tuned and I'm going to show you how each of these 4 canning tools can work together to make food shelf stable for as long as it stays vacuum sealed. So come on, let's go take a look at them. I have joined forces with Homesteaders of America to offer this amazing collaboration to teach anybody who is looking to enter the homesteading life or food ownership life the opportunity to learn and glean from some amazing YouTubers, bloggers, gardeners, home food preservists, everybody that can give you the information that you need to be successful in your journey along the process. You don't have to be a homesteader. You don't have to, do anything that requires raising livestock or a massive garden. But what you do need to know is the food that you are able to own and control should be something that you need to be comfortable in doing. So again, make sure you visit the Homesteaders of America playlist and see all of the other channels participating in this collaboration that will last the whole week long, and it ends on Saturday, but the playlist will be up and available for you guys infinity. A hot water bath canner is used to process high acidic food items, meaning jams, jellies, juices, marmalades, pickled items, barbecue sauce, items like that. We would use a hot water bath canner to go ahead and can traditionally in that. So what we have is an aluminum kettle, okay? So we have an aluminum kettle that would fill completely with water. So this whole thing here would fill with water, and it would be heavy on your stove, heavy to lift, heavy to move, but that was the traditional way. We have what we call the rack in there. The jars fit in the rack goes into the water. So you've got your canning jars into your aluminum hot water bath canner. You've added your water. So the processing time for something like this is going to be when the water comes to a raging boil. Once that happens, then you begin your processing time. How much water you need to fill into your canner will be 1 to 2 inches above the canning jars. That's what you need to process your food in, okay? 1 inch of water generally refers to something like jams, jellies, and pickled items, barbecue sauce, for example. However, for tomato products, you definitely want to use 2 inches of water above your lids. And the reason why is because tomatoes process a lot longer than what the other typical high acidic food items would process for. I will link in the descriptions another YouTube video that I did on canning tomatoes, and you will actually see why it's necessary to process them for much longer than what you would on the other average high acidic food items. So again, this is your aluminum canner, and it just works through the boiling water bath method. But on top of that, you need to make sure you're not open kettle canning. There must be a lid on top of this. I can't find my lid, I'm sorry. But there must be a lid on top of this to hold the steam in order to process the foods much more efficient and to provide a good, safe canned item that will be shelf stable as long as the jars stay vacuum sealed. So now I'm going to talk about a canning tool that I actually use in place of my hot water bath canner. My hot water bath canner I use to can tomato products, okay? But if I were to can anything else, I'm using a different tool. We're talking pickles, barbecue sauce, marmalade, jams, jellies, anything else that's high acidic, that doesn't require an extended amount of time to process those goods. And what I use, let me show you here, is called the steam canner. So this is new. On 2015, the National Center for Home Food Preservation and the USDA approved this as a safe canning tool. Now, unlike a hot water bath canner who uses boiling water to process the goods, a steam canner actually uses steam to process your foods within them. They can do anything that's in here that's high acidic. Tomatoes, you're kind of bordering on the tomato aspect because tomatoes do get canned a lot longer. However, this will do the job for you for less wear and tear, less wear and tear on your stove, and less heat in your kitchen. So this price of something like this, sorry, I'm working from home. The price for something like this actually ranges anywhere from $56 to $78, but I'm gonna tell you, if you are canning in the southern part of the country where it is hot, you want this canning tool, I promise you. Let me show you how it works. So what it has first is the dome lid. So the dome lid looks like something like this. I got this canner when it first came out, and I'm gonna tell you, I have used the heck out of it, and in truth, I'm due for a new one this year. So what happens is the steam builds up into this dome lid, and there's two venting systems in here. One is on this side, and you can see the little itty bitty hole right here, and it's done on both sides. So your processing time will start once the steam has filled the complete dome and there's a steady stream of steam escaping in these vents right here. That's when your processing time starts. Processing time is exactly the same as it would be in a hot water bath canner, right? But again, less heat and less wear and tear on your stove. These are ideal as well too for glass top stoves. So if you are hot water bath canning anything, get something like this. It's really going to be a lot more efficient for you. So what do we have here? So we have where the water goes in. The water actually goes in. It'll fill it up for about 2 inches of water. And then from there, we have our rack system. So the rack system holds pints, jars, and half pints. You do not want to double stack in either a hot water bath canner or a steam canner. So these are a single rack system. So basically the same amount that would go into a hot water bath canner would go into your steam canner. The rack actually drops into the steam canner just as it is. The jars go in, dome lid goes on. The processing time starts once the steam extracts at a steady, consistent, hard flow from the vents in the steam canner. Again, good for glass top stoves, good for hot summer days, and good to minimize the amount of water, wear and tear on your stove, and your ability to move this tool without struggling like you would in a hot water bath canner. So that's going to lead me into my next segment when I mention juice. Now, typically the old traditional way to extract juice would be to go ahead and take the fruit, boil it up, hang it, let the juice slowly drip from your hanging system here. You know, whether you're doing it in a cheesecloth or a muslin cloth or whatever you're extracting your juice from, it would just hang and the juice would slowly drip, and then you would have basically juice at that point in time. Now, this next tool that I'm going to show you is a lifesaver, And the bonus about it is that it extracts a crystal clear product, making it a juice concentrate, which is actually able to be canned. Okay, meaning it has no segment in it in any way, shape, or form. It's completely clear. Honeycrisp apple juice is one of the most favorite things that I put up every single year, and the kids love it. It is absolutely delicious, but it's so easy for me to do. There's no hours spent in the kitchen extracting the juice from those Honeycrisp apples to create a product. And on top of that, I can take the Honeycrisp apples and make it into something a little bit more than just extracting the juice from it. I'm going to show you the breakdown of this amazing tool. And again, it's called the Steam Juicer. The price range for something like this will fluctuate, okay? It will start anywhere from $80 on up. And what it is do you want stainless steel? Do you want aluminum on it? You know, that's basically your two options on that. So take a look. I'll give you the link for this canning tool in the descriptions as well too. And you can take a look and see which one best fits you. But I will also tell you one other thing. If you are making jelly, please stop doing it the traditional way. If you have this tool, you can take that juice concentrate that actually comes out, boil it back up, add your natural sweeteners to it, or your sweeteners to it, or sugar, whatever you want to use, because we do know that sugar is a preservative, okay? And it doesn't alter the flavor as honey would. So your choice is up to you. Honey, sugar, whatever you want to use. But you've got an easier jelly than boiling, hanging, extracting, and going from there. This baby is going to do it for you. So what I normally do is I will take 1 jar of my juice concentrate that I've actually used from the steam canner, or 2, depending on how much jelly I actually need in that moment in time, and I will make jelly out of it in minutes. So I'm going to show you the components of this tool. And then from there, I'm going to tell you what else I could do with what we call the mush that's left over from the fruit of something like this. So as I was editing my videos for this YouTube presentation, I realized that I did not talk to you about adding content to the colander of your steam juicer. Here's the bonus of it. All you have to do is completely and thoroughly wash your food item very, very well. So let's just talk about grapes, for example. I would harvest the grapes, give them a good washing. Then I would place the stem, the grape, the seeds, the whole entire thing. Basically, I just take the stem, drop it into my colander of the juicer and let it go. I don't have to take it off the stem. I don't have to remove the seeds, nothing. So the whole benefit of the actual grape is actually absorbed into the juice. It's perfect. It's perfect. So don't worry about it. If you have apples, what I like to do with my apples, and here's what I was trying to share with you earlier, was this, is that I will take my apples, I'll wash them completely, very thoroughly and very well. Then I will take them and I'll quarter them. Okay. If I'm going to do anything else with those apples, what I'm going to end up doing is I'll remove the seeds. So I'll quarter the apples, leave the skin on, remove the seeds, and then put those into the steam juicer's colander. So what happens is once the steam comes up and extracts everything, it's left what we call mush. It's basically just mush. It is. It's mush. The grapes that have seeds, you really can't make them into raisins at that point because the seeds are still in them. So I just usually discard that. However, with the apples, once all the juice has been extracted from them, I will take them and I will scrape out the mush. Discard the skin. Sometimes I actually use the skin, but I will scrape out the mush. I will reheat it all back up and I will take that and transfer it into apple sauce. Easy as pie. And then the skin actually goes to the chickens at that point and nothing is wasted. So yes, you can extract the juice from the apples, use the inner core once the juice has been completely extracted, the inner fruit bits, and then make it into applesauce. That is some of the best applesauce I have ever made. And I'm going to tell you, my family knows no different than if I were to make applesauce with just using apples or if I'm using the leftover mush after I've extracted the juice. So this tool is amazing. I will put in the links for you how to make juice and applesauce out of these items, out of apples using a steam juicer. And I'll include so many links that you guys make sure to take a look at those links because they're going to help you understand these tools that I'm sharing with you today. Okay, this beast right here is called the steam juicer, and it's broken up in 3 components. And I'm going to show you what each component does, the name of it, and how it works. Now, what you're seeing coming out of it is actually a food-grade silicone hose that takes all the liquid that's held and moves it down directly into your canning jars. So let me show you the components, and I'm going to convince you why this is the best item to have in regards to canning food items. The first component of a steam juicer is what we call the water tank. The water tank is going to hold all the water, and what it's going to do is from there it generates the steam that's needed to extract all the liquid from the items that you're working with. Again, you see the marbles in there, and what the marbles do is it lets me know that the tank is actually running out of water or if I need to add more water to it. You never want to run this dry ever because you will destroy it otherwise, and it will create a burnt smell in the liquid in which you extracted. How do I know this? Well, sometimes trial and error is one of the only things to educate yourself on. So this is the water tank. This is the base portion of it right here. The next level, which is the second level of a steam juicer, is the reservoir. So this is where all the juice sits as it's being extracted from the item in which you're working with. Okay, so this right here looks exactly like this, and it sits directly onto your water tank. So it'll sit here like this. The hose will come here. Now what this is a food grade silicone hose that comes with a clamp. So you can clamp the liquid flow from coming out, and the reservoir actually fills up, the reservoir will fill up with liquid, and you can use this hose to directly release the liquid into your canning jars. So once this is full, you can actually get a full canner of jars and just releasing it into here, wipe the rims, place on your lids, and put it into your steam canner right there to get the job done that you need to get done. The last component and the upper level of a steam juicer is your colander. Okay, so it's basic. It's just a colander. It is as is. It's fitted. It goes directly onto your steam juicer like so. So that's how it all fits together here. Goes in like this. Now, what happens is you can put all of the items that you're canning, for example, apples, directly into this little colander. All right, once you've got your canner completely filled with the items that you want to go ahead and process, you're gonna put them in here. Never exceed this line here, because if you put too much in there, you're gonna miss out on the benefits of everything that you've put in here. So only ever fill it up to about right here. I have gone a little bit over, it has been okay, but again, there was issues with something did not completely get processed versus something that did towards the very bottom. The last thing you need to do is you're going to put your lid on as so, and remember the lid must be on because the steam needs to be contained into this tool. Okay, so I saved this tool for last. This is the tool that scares people the most, especially if you're new to preserving foods at home. We've heard too many horror stories about this tool and if you don't do it safely, you're gonna kill somebody. If you don't do it safely, you're gonna make someone sick. If you don't use it properly, it's gonna blow up in your kitchen. But let's just breathe for a minute, okay? Let's just breathe. Maybe I was never given that opportunity to be fearful of using a pressure canner because I didn't have a mentor that actually gave me those warnings in advance. So I just went into it. I dove into it. When I got a pressure canner, I was like, oh yes, let's use it. Let's figure it out and go to town with it. So here's the deal. Two things, okay? The first person that tells you you're going to kill somebody, run in the opposite direction. The first person that tells you you're going to give someone botulism, you run in the other direction. Then the third person that tells you it's going to blow up in your kitchen, you should be very fearful of that. Just tell them to stop talking to you. You don't need the negativity to learn how to use this tool. Okay, so this tool is basically the base and the foreground of preserving anything that is low in acidity, meaning vegetables that are not pickled, for example, carrots, green beans, potatoes even. So those type of things are going to be canned in here. So you're canning it with just the vegetable and water. That is low acidity. When you pickle something, you're adding acidity to it like vinegar. So that would be why it's safe at that point to be hot water bath canned and steam canned, okay? So a pressure canner is taking things that aren't pickled and preserving them for long-term to be shelf stable. Couldn't say that. All right. So I have gone from a 16-quart pressure canner, Presto pressure canner, to a 23-quart. If you're beginning this process, I would suggest you starting off with a smaller pressure canner like the 16-quart. Use it for a couple of years, and then from there progress to a larger size. But you know what? The choice is yours. This 23-quart pressure canner here is big. It's a monster, and it can get heavy when you fill it up with jars. So if you're not canning on either, if you're using this on like a gas stovetop, it's really heavy for your glass stovetop, not gas, glass stovetop. So if you're using it on your glass stovetop, it's very heavy. So make sure you're not sliding it on your stovetop. Make sure that once you put it down, it stays down, and make sure you just remove your jars from it versus trying to lift it off of your stove. These work great on gas burners, the cast iron gas burners, or on a steam or on a camp stove, propane stove, okay? So this is what it is. So take a look at it. So basically this is 23 quarts. What you have is a big old spot. This can hold single stacks of quart-sized jars, double stacks of pint-sized jars, and triple stacks of half-pint jars. Okay, salmon is a great example of what you would use in something like what you would triple stack for. So if you're doing small things like salmon, or my maple bacon jam, which I have to get up on the website. I'm sorry I haven't done that yet, but once it's up, you guys are gonna love it. Okay, so these are the racks that actually go into a pressure canner, these racks here. Pressure canning is done through the use of steam, much like a steam canner for high acidic items. A steam pressure canner is used for low acidic items, again, through the steaming process. So this will be the first item you put into your canning rack. Now, if for some reason I had 2 stacks of pint-sized jars, I would put my pint-sized jars in there, and then I would go ahead and put my other rack on top of those jars, and then I would do another layer of pint-sized jars, okay? So with canning, you do not want to have an empty space in any of your canners. And the reason why is because if the jars start moving around as so, they could tip over and it could hinder the sealing effect by loosening up the lid within your jars, and you won't get that food preserved, which means you'll have to consume it right away. So this would go on here. Okay, now one more tip for you. There is a backside of a pressure canner. Ask me how I know this. Through trial and error, over getting frustrated for the first year of pressure canning, I finally discovered there's a front and a backside. Okay, take a look at it with me. Pressure canners have these little ledges on them right here. That's the backside of your pressure canner. You want this facing away from you when you put it on your stovetop. And the reason why that's really important is that the lid attaches because of that lip. I used to have just put the pressure canner on the stove, and I couldn't figure out why, and then all of a sudden I had a difficult time placing the lid on it. If you do it this way, the process is much easier to get the lid to attach and secure to the base of the pressure canner. Okay. One other tip: you do not have to fill a pressure canner with water. You basically are filling the pressure canner for 2 to 3 inches of water, and that's it. So you put your jars in, you fill up your canner with 2 to 3 inches of water. I generally do about 3, and then you put your lid on. Again, the reason why: it's not being processed through hot water bath, boiling water. It's being processed through the use of. So what kind of foods can you can in a pressure canner? Once again, low acidic food items, things that are not pickled, for example, the things that are just naturally low in acidity, those go into the pressure canner. Now, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So, for example, vegetables, carrots and green beans, they are actually pressure canned. There's no vinegar in here. All I did was go ahead and peel the carrots, and then I quartered them up into 1-inch cubes, 1-inch cuts, and then the green beans were just, ends were snapped, and then they were snapped and placed in here as well too. I don't use salt. Salt, and if you look at a lot of canning recipes, salt will say add a teaspoon of salt. Why? Salt is not necessary when it comes to preserving foods like vegetables, for example. It just is supposed to add flavor, but that's so much salt, just like you're drinking salt water to me. So don't add the salt unless you want to. You can add a little bit of herbs, oreganos, whatever you wanted to add to it to just change the flavor a little bit, but we like it basic because sometimes I'll change it up when the can's open. The other thing that you can go ahead and pressure can, because it tastes much better than what you'll get if you get it in a metallic jar, is mushrooms. You can can mushrooms. I take the mushrooms and I'll slice them really thin, and I will pressure can them. So yes, canned mushrooms is a thing. We do a lot of consuming of canned mushrooms. I get them from my local market. They give me a discount if I buy a flat at a time. And I will tell you, I've been doing this for now over 5 years, and I will never, ever again buy a jar of canned mushrooms from your market. Meat right now is such a great thing to can, and the reason why is because, number one, it's what we call fast foods. If I don't want to cook, I go ahead and grab a can of either red meat or chicken or whatever I have, and I'll open it up and I'll create chicken salad sandwiches, for example, or just use it to do whatever I want to make with it. If I want to add it to chili, I add it last. So this is chicken. Chicken was cut into 1-inch cubes. I shook it up a little bit, I'm sorry. Chicken was cut into 1-inch cubes. It's not pretty. It's not fancy, but it sure does do the job, and it tastes good, especially once you doctor it up with the ingredients that you want to make it good. So during times like this where we're emptying our freezers, I have a lot of chicken that I need to process because my next batch is going in, I will go ahead and can up a bunch of chicken for the year. Soups, stews are great. However, you cannot use thickeners in those items. So we talked a little bit about the rubber gasket inside of the lid of your pressure canner. Now, one important thing you need to do before you actually begin the canning process, you need to make sure that the ring is still in good shape. These can actually dry out over years of use, and they're actually replaceable. You can buy them at basically any small hardware store like Ace that sells canning supplies. They actually sell these, or you can order them online, or you can actually get them from Presto Direct. So you want to look to make sure there's no tears in here, that the rubber is not rotted out, and that there's no food particles on here preventing a good seal from happening during the canning process. This is your venting system. This is where the steam releases and it comes out. So as you know, your processing time is not going to start until you vented your canner, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So after your canner's been vented, you're going to put the weight on it. So the weight goes right on top of there. The steam is actually, when it's really strong, it's not hot enough at this point in time. So basically you could go like this, it'll be fine. You put your weight on it like that. And then that's when you're going to hear it move. You'll hear it move as the steam makes it move. And you want to hear it. If it's completely silent, there's an issue going on. So you'll just listen to it and it'll just kind of make this kind of shh noise just as is. And then that's it. That's your weighted point right there. So that's what you got. Let me show you how to get your lid on there, and we'll talk a little bit about the processing use of okay guys, I'm going to show you how to get the lid on here, and once we do that, we're going to talk about the processing time for a pressure canner and how to determine it and what can you process in here. So let's go over that real quick. I am coming up on my 1-year anniversary for the release of my book, The Farm Girl's Guide to Preserving the Harvest. This is my copy. I still use it. I use it because it has so much information on it. This book takes you through the A to Z of preserving foods at home. We're talking canning. We're talking the necessities of what you need to preserve foods first. Then we're talking canning, pressure canning, steam canning, hot water bath canning. Then from there, we go into dehydrating and drying foods using every single method available. And then from there, we go into fermentation. Yes, you guys need to ferment foods. And then from there, we go into curing your own foods at home, how to properly store them in a cold cellar or a root cellar, cold storage or a root cellar. And then on top of that, we talk about how to freeze foods. Believe it or not, many people don't know how to freeze foods. So I had to touch bases on that as well too. This is your A to Z guide. This is a come into my kitchen, sit down with me, let's get it done in a language that just as I'm talking to you right now, is how it's written in my book. So it's not stiff, and it's not you're going to kill somebody, and it's not you need to do it this way. I just give you the facts and leave it up to you to make the decision on what you're going to do. So if you haven't grabbed a copy of my book yet, please do so. It is available on Amazon. It is available at barnesandnobles.com. So you guys, if this has not made you more comfortable in all the canning tools available for putting up high acidic and low acidic food items, feel free to leave a comment, shoot me a message, do whatever you need to do, and I can walk you through it a little bit more. But more importantly, if you grab my book, it's going to tell you everything that you need to know about preserving foods. And of course, you can get some recipes and additional information on my website at farmgirlinthemaking.com. Follow me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. And you can follow me on my podcast, A Simple Homesteading Life. It's just Simple Homesteading Life. And we're going to talk everything that you need to know about homesteading as a whole. And on top of that, I got some great guest speakers lined up for this year. Okay, you guys, I hope you found this video to be informative and that I've convinced you to try some new canning tools in regards to preserving high acidic and low acidic food items. And then on top of that, you'll grab a copy of my book, because I promise you it's going to make your transition into every single phase of home food preservation extremely easy. Now, don't forget to go over to the Homesteaders of America YouTube channel and see what other YouTube channels have participated in today's collaboration in teaching everybody to join forces and to own their food source in a clean, healthy way. All right, we'll see you guys next week. I don't know what's up for next week, but I'll see you next week. Bye, you guys.